family of this victim, young victim, and give my condolences to the family and state that we are here for them to bring justice to this tragedy and to just investigate this as best as we can. Did anybody have anything else?
Are there any details you can provide on the person accused of shooting the 12-year-old?
Well, basically right now it's an ongoing investigation, so we can't delve into too much of what we have and what's been put out there by other people in the social media and just hearsay. But we do know that there was a tragedy that occurred last night between the hours of 7 o'clock p.m. and 8 o'clock p.m. in the 500 block of Snyder Drive. Officers arrived on scene and did observe a black juvenile subject inside the residence who had succumbed from his injury. It was a single gunshot injury, and EMS personnel did come and check vitals, and everything was confirmed that he was deceased. However, we did call out Mobile County SO to come out and do the crime scene for us, as they always do. They collected certain things from the scene that we can't go into right now, but like I said, it appears that an incident transpired at this location, and subsequently a 12-year-old juvenile has been killed at this location.
Are y'all actively looking for a shooter?
Well, we're actively looking for a relative of the decedent. His name is Jaquavius Hill. He's a 16-year-old. We're looking to question him, and basically that's pretty much where we are right now in the investigation.
Were there any relatives or anybody else at the residence with the victim when officers arrived on the scene?
Yes, there were other relatives there. We have questioned them, but we can't divulge anything right now because it's still an ongoing investigation.
Was there a firearm recovered from the home?
No firearm was recovered.
Do we know how many shots were fired during that incident?
Well, because this is an ongoing investigation, we don't like to divulge that information, but we do know that a round or two was fired at that location. So
at this point, you don't think it was a self-inflicted wound or anything like that?
well, we're looking at every aspect of the investigation to see whether this was what people are trying to locate, well, trying to deem as a suicide, but we're looking into everything.
Are Mr. Hill and the deceased victim brothers?
Yes, they are relatives.
Did the 16-year-old previously have a record of any kind? Or?
Well, we couldn't go into that because he is a juvenile, but we can say that he was not in school at the time. We have checked into that, and last time he was in school was maybe about a year or so ago.
So what does this mean for the Prichard community?
Well, gun safety is not so much the question here. It's basically gun violence. And basically when I say gun violence, because you can have a gun in the residence and you can have it locked up and safe and secure, but nowadays these young people are getting guns offline. They're getting guns from people that are buying them for them. So they have access to guns more than we in here do. So we're just asking our legislative people to make some stricter laws on this gun violence.
The gun that was used at this shooting that killed the 12-year-old, was it the parents' gun?
Well, we haven't recovered the gun.
You haven't recovered the gun?
No.
Talk about your relationship with the sheriff's department. They've been assisting you guys. Is that helping?
Well, we're working co hand in hand with the sheriff departments on some cases, not all cases, but some cases we are working collectively together, and it does help with the manpower. And like Sheriff Birch said the last time, we're just tired of all the violence out here on the street with young people with guns being able to readily have access to them, and we're just tired of it. So we're trying to work hand in hand to curtail that and get these people off the street.
Is anyone else wanted for questioning besides Mr. Hill at this point?
Not at this time.
You mentioned changes to guns. This the individual is 16 years old, and that there's a 12-year-old involved. They're not legally allowed to have guns anyway. What changes were you proposing, or were you suggesting in relation to this case?
Well, basically what I'm saying is we know that guns can be easily accessible from the streets. So what we're saying is that the legislative, our government, has to enforce stricter laws on young people as well as people who are legally carrying guns, to go back and check the laws and see what can be done to curtail this. I see they're trying to implement something with the assault rifle, where you have to have a permit now to obtain an assault rifle. So it's just some things that they have to do to better curtail that.
What would you like the community to know? You said they were talking. There's been chatter. What would you like to let them know at this point?
Well, basically, we want the community to know that we're out here working as best as we can to curtail this violence out here on the streets. We're working as hard as we can, hand in hand with the sheriff's department, to get the gangs off the street and get the guns off the street. But it's still a collective effort that the community has to do as well. They go back to saying, if you see something, say something. And I know people don't like to deal with the police, but this is what you have to curtail this stuff. You have us to go out and fight your battles for you. So therefore, if you don't say anything, then there's nothing we can do. And people want to always ask us, hey, what are y'all doing about this? Or they'll go and talk to everyone else, but they don't come and talk to us. And then when families come in and ask us, hey, have you heard this? No, we haven't heard it, because no one come in and talk with us. So we try and follow up on every lead. Sometimes some things may slip through the cracks, but we try to go back and follow that lead that they gave us and get back to justice.
So Sheriff Birch said there was a gang problem. Do you agree that this is an issue, and especially with like the younger generation here?
Yes, I agree.
And to be clear, are y'all investigating this as possible gang relation event?
I think I'm going to let the mayor speak on this a little bit about what he may have to say about some of these things.
Can you share the victim's name with us?
No, because he's a juvenile, we can't share that information with you, but we can share the person of interest that I shared with you earlier.
And I know you said no firearm.
Yeah. I do also have a picture for you all. This is the person of interest, Jaquavius Hill, 16-year-old. It's J-Y-Quavious Hill, 16 years old.
Well, good evening. Let me first say my condolences to the family as well. This is a tragic situation involving one of our young folks here in this city. But I would tell you, we are a nation of laws and rules. And this Second Amendment that you've heard a lot of conversation on a national level here across the United States. But here in the state of Alabama, after the governor signed this bill, where there's not a requirement to have a permit to have a weapon. It's a problem. Let me tell you why it's a problem. There are folks who cannot deal with their mental issues that exist with them. They can't deal with conflict resolution. And since those requirements no longer exist in this process, and a person can attain a weapon, we're seeing the results of this. But it's not just this alone, as the lieutenant has shared with you. The availability to get weapons off the street, offline, and other people who are just buying weapons and selling it to young folks. It's obviously they have a problem too. You got to be mental to go and purchase a weapon and give it to a child, to give it to a young person. And so we need to deal with those kind of things. And as you know, many of the weapons that's been involved in an incident is no longer on the scene once the police arrive. Someone is picking them up, running with it, or the person who's committed the crime grabbed it and run off with it. So that's some things we're going to need to strengthen as well. Because we can determine that if a person who happened to be on the scene has picked up a weapon that was involved in a crime, then they should be charged with the crime as well, from my perspective. They are just as involved. And so, as a city, though, the city of Prichard, and as the mayor, I want to offer up a couple of things to the families here in the city of Prichard. Right in front of me right now, you see the rack. The rack in front of me affords an opportunity for the citizens to have a safety measure in their home to protect the weapons. And so I've asked the chief, if he would, to create an initiative, not only that we offer up the racks to families who may have a weapon in their home, but also where officers may go to the home, educate and train the family on securing weapons within the home. One of the problems I think you really will find is that our young folks who are curious about things, and so they want to go and handle a weapon. But I think if we have an initiative that would offer that up so they can touch it, feel it, and understand that this is a very dangerous instrument, right, and how to properly handle that instrument, I think we will get some very good results from that. And so, again, I've asked the chief to create an initiative that would allow that. We will give you these racks. But we will give you these racks once the officer come into the home and train you and on safety and those kind of things related to this rack, which, again, is a safety tool to secure your weapons, whether it's a long gun or a shotgun. And so, Chief, as of today, I'm asking him to do that. And for the public, if that's your interest, please call on the police department here in the city. If you're a citizen here in the city, we're going to offer it up for free. We're going to offer the training as well, and hope that this will help curtail some of the incidents that are involved on failure to have weapon safety in and around this city. You know, our young folks being exposed to a lot of things. And lastly, I would share with you this, because as I move around the city of this county, and I'm in Walmart and other stores, and people are walking around with their weapons on their side and across their chest, I'm uncomfortable. I don't know about you, and I'm in law enforcement for many, many years myself, even the chief of police myself. And I'm telling you guys that if that doesn't bother you, it certainly bothers me, because that weapon is readily available to that person to respond and act in such a way that once you pull the trigger, you can't bag it up. It has happened. And we don't know if they can deal with conflict either. We don't even know if they have some mental issues as well. We don't know if they have a criminal record that shows that they've had issues in the past. And so I would hope and pray that our folks up in Montgomery would go back and reevaluate where we are. I stand with the Second Amendment right as it relates to it, but there has to be other components involving that Second Amendment right to possess that firearm, to ensure the safety of the public. That has to happen. And as I stand here now, again, I beg the folks in Montgomery, I reach out to the governor, ATF on the federal level, and all other law enforcement agencies that we come together. The sheriff himself, Paul Birch, I think he even spoke to that in terms of not being able to require a permit for a person. Guys, we're going to have to do something.
Is there a push with law enforcement?
Yes.
To galvanize and go to Montgomery and demand and say, hey, this is not what we need? Or you guys just kind of laying back and say, oh, it's the law?
No, that's the problem right there. I think you just touched on it. That's the problem. And so, and that's what needs to happen. And that's why I'm sharing what I'm sharing. We've seen the results of much of the things that are taking place across this city, across this country. Right? And so let's quit talking about it. Right? Let's all come together and and not just the law enforcement. I'm talking about the general public as well. Let's band together. Let's start calling Montgomery. Let's start calling the governor's office and saying, hey, there's some things we really need to do and change as it relates to. Second Amendment stands on its own. But we need to put some other components with it, or some required components with it, so that everybody who may have many other issues are not walking around with a weapon that's subject to hurt any one of us, law enforcement, or the general public itself. And this is a safety requirement that is necessary. And I pray to God that we hear this and then we start responding to it, because we don't need any other young folks dying around us. And whether that's misuse of that firearm, not knowing what to do with it in your home, sticking it under your mattress, under your pillow, or laying it somewhere where it is not secured. So with that being said, are there any questions for me? And if not, I'll turn it back over to them.
I have a question.
Sure.
I don't know if this is a question for Lieutenant Martin, but I know y'all said y'all haven't recovered the gun yet, but the gun in this instance that was used in conversations with the parents, was this gun properly secured in the home?
Well, you just heard my conversation, right? That many a times, and we won't know that, and then in the conversation, you may not gather that even from those in the home, because it would impact them based upon what they share, because they're subject to be charged as well, right? And so there are very few, and I spoke to this earlier, there are very few folks who would say, yes, it's mine, it was unsecured, I had it under the mattress, under the pillow, wherever it was. And so there's some negligence as it relates to those kinds of things. So you probably won't get people to really share that in that way. It's going to take us in the conversation with those who may have been there, the parents who was not there. So that part of the investigation is a little bit difficult, but I think over time we will be able to gather further information after we have the conversation with the person we're looking for right now as well.
So what can citizens do outside of getting the rack to make sure that their families and especially children are safe with firearms?
I'm sorry, one more time for me.
What can citizens do outside of getting the rack to make sure that their families and children are safe in terms of like firearms?
Firearms in the family, in the homes, as I just offered in terms of the rack that's available. You know, I don't think a firearm should be in the possession of anyone who had not been trained, right? And you have a right, Second Amendment right to bear arms, but you should be trained with it, right? A lot of folks who are not trained really can have that weapon taken from them and use the same weapons that they are bearing against someone else who may be breaking into the home or subjecting them to some other criminal act. And so we're going to offer the rack to those families here in the city who want to ensure that their firearms and their homes are secured. We will give it to you for free, but in order for you to get it, you must get the training that the chief will put together and provide to the public. That's the requirement. Get it free, but you're going to get the training before you get it.
How much do these systems cost?
Yes, about $200 a piece.
Is there a limit to how many y'all will be able to get out into the community?
Well, we're going to, I think we have, how many on hand right now? 200 of them? We have approximately 200 now, but I will continue to work to secure other fundings so that we can offer it up. If they keep coming and want them, and if we surpass the 200 level, then we're going to make sure that we're able to reach out to others and make sure that we're funded to be able to do this. This is probably one of the most important things that this city can do, and I would charge other cities around us to do likewise, and finding out about the RAC and offering it up to citizens and offering training up to citizens in your community as it relates to it.
And at this point, do we kind of have an idea of what that training would look like for these families? Would it be maybe a community event where people come, they see the system, and they get a briefing on how it works? Or would it be, maybe going out to these homes and showing people where you need to set them up and how they work?
Well, we'll lay that out. We won't lay it out today and here, but we'll lay that out so they would understand what the process is, what that entails in terms of what we're expecting from them and what they can expect from us. But the key is providing the security and providing the training for the families in their homes. And when I speak about training too, I'm talking about to every child or person that's living in the home, so that they all can understand that a weapon just sitting there don't kill. It's when you pick it up that you're subject that weapon can hurt someone. And so we want to train them in that way and let them understand what that process is and how they could really, how you can protect your own family by taking on this initiative and accepting it in your home, especially free training as it relates to it.
One final question.
The lieutenant mentioned that I asked you about the gang violence aspect or the gang activity aspect. How does that play into this?
Well, I think, though, we talk about gangs all the time. There are gangs, and then there are gangs. I mean, there are some who want to be that. They operate like that. But they do exist. They exist across all of Mobile County, for that matter. And that's something that we're going to have to deal with. And when we recognize it, we need to put the flag up and start acting on it. I think
In relation to this case?
has nothing, I believe, at this juncture that we found that has anything to do with this case. This is what I'm talking about in here today about firearm safety and misuse of firearm or in the hands of someone that shouldn't even have one. Has nothing to do with a gang. It has everything to do with the failure in your household to have control to the level of security within your own home. That's where the training starts at home, and that's what we need to put into the home to ensure that they understand gun safety as it relates to it, so we don't have another tragic death of some young person or any person for that matter.
As the mayor of Prichard, when you get the phone call that a 12-year-old has been killed, what goes through your mind?
I'm a father.
Yeah, tell me.
So I'm a father. So, just like any other parent, that is not something you want to hear. And even though it may be someone else's child, can you just imagine what that's like to get a call that a young person has died, an untimely death, like in this particular case? Oh, it hurts. It hurts deep when that happens. This child have an opportunity to live this life. And now look at the impact that it's going to have on the family and friends and other young folks. And so, yes, it hurts. It hurts deeply to have to deal with any of these kind of matters. And I tell you, I dealt with them, again, as a law enforcement officer myself. And I'm telling you, this is not something that I think any one of us would want to hear. And certainly, I don't think this is something you want to stand before me now and ask these questions as it relates to it. This is very unfortunate that this has happened. And our young folks deserve better, but the only way we're going to make it better for them is we educate them, and train families so that they understand what it is to secure the weapon and protect their household as it relates to it.